You're listening to Ecto Portal, a journey into the unknown with Anthony Anderson and VERNA Wilson.
I hope that you are seated comfortably, with the light turned down and the curtains drawn.
Hello and welcome once again to another journey into the unexplored, the unexplained Ecto Portal. I'm Anthony Anderson, your host, and I'm here with my co-host,
VERNA Wilson.
And we have a special guest today, don't we, VERNA?
Jill Shelley, yeah, a paranormal investigator, and she actually bought a haunted house.
Yep, the Haunted Boyd House in Minnesota. A number of investigators have already checked it out. And if you stay tuned, you'll actually learn how you can obtain information and stay the night as an investigator at the Boyd House as well. So she's obviously been around, in the field for a while. So it'll be kind of fun to talk to her and find out her experiences and what led her to want to purchase a haunted house.
Yeah,
I always wanted to own a haunted house, but you never know how haunted is my house going to be.
Right, and it's very cool to be able to own an old house with so much history, haunted or not. But they all have a lot. All of these old houses have a lot of history, and you can learn so much by owning it and living there, or if you don't live there, just to do some research on it.
Yeah. I mean, in her case, I guess we'll find out whether she bought the house to live in, or maybe she bought the house to investigate in, or both. I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah.
I guess it would all depend whether you wanted a haunted house, depending upon what happened in it historically. Like, were there murders in the house? Did someone die in the house? All kinds of things could happen in an old house. So I would imagine that would decide for some people whether you ever wanted to live in it or not.
Right, and your reasons for buying it too.
Exactly.
People have different reasons for buying a house that has a history like that.
Yep. So I mean, she's kind of it sounds like she's kind of living something I would want to do, but I'd be curious to what her experiences are. That now that she's obviously purchased the house, what led her to purchase it? Did she check it out beforehand? That kind of stuff. So we'll definitely ask her all these questions and find out what it's like to own a haunted house.
Yeah, it's going to be very cool conversation.
Right.
I'm excited to have her on. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and give her a call.
Yep, let's call her.
Welcome to Ecto Portal. Jill Shelley, are you there?
I am here. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's exciting to have you on. Another paranormal enthusiast. We always love that.
Yeah,
since I've been doing it.
I was going to say, where are you from? Where are you at?
Well, our group is based out of Stillwater, Minnesota, but the haunted location that we have is actually in Boyd, Minnesota, which is southwest Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Now, obviously, by looking at your YouTube channel, was it Paranormal Patrol?
Yep, that's the name of our little cable show that we put together. I just decided to get into video production. I thought that'd be kind of a fun little hobby and kind of make a nice little keepsake for when we go investigating.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually have a local cable show here that allows us to air that kind of stuff. So we put that on there, and then we put it up on YouTube, and it's kind of a fun little thing for us to do.
That's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work editing video together, let alone investigation review, but editing and making content is time consuming. So I
Oh, it is.
appreciate all the work you put into it. Trust me.
Oh, thanks. I do enjoy doing it. It's not even like work to me. I get lost in it. Next thing you know, it's midnight, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go to bed. So,
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
That shows you truly love what you're doing.
yes, I do love it.
Excellent. So now I was curious because you mentioned you had purchased this house. Did you guys investigate it before you purchased the house?
I did a little mini investigation. You know, it's kind of hard when you get to that point where you want to buy a haunted house to just find it advertised that way. So
Yeah.
luckily, my realtor knew what I was doing, what I was looking for. So we would go and in search of old, creepy looking houses and do many investigations. So I probably got like maybe an hour and a half, if that, at the house. So we got the REM pod that we had there went off within 8 minutes of being there, and then
Wow.
the spirit box had a woman say, "Who are you? Like, you know, what are you doing? This is weird. Why are you talking to me? This is strange." um,
Of
so
course.
yeah, so I think that, and we got a couple. I think we got like a girl's name. You know, we've done so much that I can't remember everything we've gotten, but and then based on that, I went to a psychic medium that I really trust,
Hmm.
and she said that there were 6 spirits there. That there were like one guy, a couple of children, and a couple ladies. Which, through our investigating, we're finding that tends to be what's there. But what I found interesting is she told me the first night I stay there that there's a man that likes to garden, and he comes in through the back door, and I'm going to hear him on the first night that I stayed there, which is weird because I haven't even put an offer in on the house, so she must have known I was going to buy it. And she was right, because the first night we stayed there, I was walking by the basement door, which was shut, and there's another door that goes to the outside, the back door. And I walked by the basement door, and it was like somebody pounded so loud on it, like I jumped like 10 feet because I did not expect that to happen.
Oh my God.
And then I just kind of checked. There was like no drafts. There was nothing. And even if it was a draft, it would have kind of just went a little back and forth. This was
Yeah.
actively like fist were pounding on
Like
that
pound,
door.
pound, pound. Yeah.
Yeah,
that would
it was
scare the hell out of
love
me.
Yeah.
In the basement by myself. Yeah, that would make me jump. Ghost hunter or not. That would,
So did you open the door to let him in?
yeah.
I did open the door. Yes, I did. I was like, "Hey, anybody here?" So, you know.
Can you
gotta
imagine
figure
this,
that
though,
stuff out.
Yeah, but imagine this, though. Before you moved in, he probably was pounding on that door every night and nobody opened it. And somebody
Yeah,
opened it
that's
for the
true.
first time. Yeah.
I'll lock myself
Yeah.
out. Did you? Was anybody living? So nobody was living there when you investigated the first time, though, right?
No, nobody was living there, but they had lived there, I believe, for about 30 years. I did talk to them. They had really minimal experiences. They kind of blew a lot of it off,
Mm-hmm.
I think. But then with what I had investigated with the psychic, and then more and more we've allowed paranormal groups. We've been open for about a year now. A lot of people are getting a lot of evidence out of that house.
So do you? This is an interesting predicament. I've never actually talked to someone who's in a position to have and owns the location. And then do you like charge groups to come in and do their investigations overnight? Do you just let them come in?
Yeah, we do private paranormal investigations. So you're the only team in the house,
Mm-hmm.
and then for that it's $175 a night, and we allow up to 8 people. I think the more people you get crammed in there, it's too crowded, and you're not going to get as much activity.
Yep.
And then we allow you to investigate from 3 p.m. till noon the next day, because it kind of gives you, as an investigator, I've traveled all over, and it's nice to have that extra setup time when you get there, and then you can investigate, and then you still have enough time to catch a couple hours of sleep before you drive home.
Yeah, that's always important. That drive home, you got to make sure you get there.
Yes.
What about the history of the house? Do you know any history of the house beforehand?
We're still learning quite a bit about the house. Back in the day, it was really hard to, they didn't keep really good records back then.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do know is that my deed starts in 1884, and that land was actually owned by the Pacific and St. Louis Railroad. and the tracks are just actually on the other side of the house. So when the train goes by, it's pretty much right there.
Wow.
And
I hear a phantom train someday.
yeah, I haven't heard that real ones, but not the phantom one. And they so the land was owned by a bunch of founders of the town, and eventually in 1901 we had the Eckerts who owned the house, and he was Fred. His name was Fred Eckert. He actually was the justice of the peace. He owned the hardware store, and he also would go up 2 blocks up the road and ring the fire alarm when there was a fire, because he was the only one who had a telephone. So they would call him, and he'd run up and do that. We do have records showing that he did pass away in the home, and we've been getting evidence of his name. So we feel that Fred is still there. And he lived there for a really, really long time. I think, gosh, almost like 20, 30 years as well.
Oh, well, was he
Were you able to locate his... I'm sorry, were you able to locate his photo or his gravesite or anything like that?
Yeah, we do actually have him and his wife's, it looks like their wedding photo. So that's actually hanging in their bedroom. Well, I assume this was their bedroom because it was the biggest bedroom in the house. So I assume that was theirs.
That's very respectful.
Yeah, and what was really cool about that, with the Eckerts, I was running the spirit box, but we were using the portal, if you guys are familiar with the portal one. And
yeah, I was going to ask you about the portal, because I was watching the clips with the spirit box and the portal. I'm like, my problem with the portal is either so ungodly expensive, or you build your own. Even building your own, it can be pricey.
Yeah.
Is that a reasonably priced one, or did you guys have to pay a god awful price?
No, I think I got that one for like $500. It's like a mini one. But my favorite piece of equipment to use for me is the spirit box. So I have like the SB11, the SB7, now the portal, and then I have a modified little radio thing that I use too. So because I just love it so much, and the science and the theory behind it.
Yeah.
But my favorite clip on that portal, because that cleans it up so clearly, I just happened to be pointing at the picture of Fred and Minnie up on the wall, and I said, "Is anybody here any one of those people up in the picture?" And on the portal it said, "You mean the Eckerts?" So I was just like, whoa. So they knew exactly who I was talking about. I think they were I don't think it was the Eckerts answering me back. I think they were just questioning, like, "Oh, you mean the picture of the Eckerts? Is that who you're asking me about?" kind of thing. So
there's validation for you.
Someone was listening.
That was pretty cool. Yes. So I divide people who say, "Well, it's DJ." Well, okay, AM station. Who's going to say that name?
Yeah, exactly.
Listening to your EVPs from your video, it sounds like you actually stumbled into a group of people who are living there and are used to having the place to themselves, and they're trying to figure you out. Because I like the EVP that said, "Is she gone?" "Yes, I think so."
Yeah.
They're just kind of waiting for. They're kind of waiting for you to leave, and you're not leaving.
And the other man, you should get out.
Yeah, they can sometimes get a little ornery. I think I have a woman, I've gotten her same EVP as well, where she sounds like she smokes like 100 packs of cigarettes a day. She's really raspy voice, but she gets real cranky. She's always like, "Don't come in here," or "I'm trying to sleep," or she just go away. So I don't really know her name, but I know she's cranky. So
we'll just call her Menthol.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you'd have figured out that maybe she realizes if somebody is coming to her room all the time or coming to where she is, maybe something's wrong. Maybe she's not in the same life anymore. Maybe you'd think she'd have figured it out by now.
No, I think she's just cranky because I think we've been doing a lot. We like to bring the house back to the 1900s, so we have like all Victorian furniture, antiques, that kind of
Very
stuff.
nice.
And we're currently we're putting up wallpaper. We kind of get like the Victorian look wallpaper, and we had been ripping the old stuff off, which was just like a tiger border and stuff. And yeah, we get this EVP because we'll run the voice recorder while we're working. and we get that her old cranky voice, like, that's it, like she's just, I'm done, because you keep working on every room. You're working on every room here. So
You know what's interesting is
Excuse me, lady, but she lives here.
I'd be curious if you dug into the history, if you didn't find if there was a woman who was a heavy smoker who lived there.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Yeah.
And who was grumpy.
Yeah. Well,
I know.
The grumpy neighbor.
Yeah, you just never know. I mean, all the names that people get either on the spirit box or even on EVPs, they don't correlate to anybody on my title, but that doesn't mean it was somebody who didn't live there. They did get, a couple of times people have gotten the name Lisa, which the only correlation I have is that is a doll I bought that's supposedly haunted by a girl named Lisa, so that could be. That's a possibility.
What do you think about the theory that spirits don't always stay in one spot, that they do tend to travel, just like we walk around and move around, that they are the same way? They travel around and go into different houses just to see what people are doing, check them out. Do you agree with that?
Oh, totally. I'm through my research, I kind of spend more time asking what's it like, why are you guys doing this, rather than the who are you and why'd you die questions.
Yeah. Okay.
So
you can always tell an investigator if they've moved beyond that to,
yes.
Let's not dwell on you died, do you know you're dead, how did you die, what year is it? You've moved on to, hey, how you doing, are you with me, come sit down. Here's some bacon, like in your video, here's some bacon.
Actually, I think you probably get more answers and then more into incline about who they are and what they're doing when you ask them, why are you doing this? And not why are you doing this, but what's going on with you? Where have you explored? They're more likely to talk to you more.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. I don't even talk to them like they're dead. I just, like I'm having a conversation as you and I are. That's how I talk to them.
Exactly.
When I'm at my house, I'm just rambling on. That's how I got that one lady who said she was trying to sleep because I was talking about my week and I wanted to know how their week went. So, it was just like...
my week, I got my pack of cigarettes, leave me alone.
Yeah, but no, they definitely, they can leave. Now, some are trapped and they can't leave. We don't know why. Yeah. But there are ones that can come and go, and then there's some that, doesn't surprise me if you're running the spirit box. You're like, hey, there's a beacon going on. I think I'll just go over there and say a few words, You gotta
wonder. You gotta wonder though if there's when you move over to that consciousness, if there's some that are able to kind of get the hang of it a little more and a little more comprehensive and move around and interact and understand that they're in a different place versus others who may be confused, maybe if they were sick or something happened when they died, it does affect the brain and it does affect the consciousness somehow, and they're kind of more lucid and not really sure where they are. They stay in the same place. You know what I mean? I often wonder if there's different levels of that. Kind of like we are.
Yeah.
There's people here with cancer and stuff that are, they're alive, they're around, but they're kind of in and out, and versus people who are healthy and moving around. And, I often wonder if the parallel is not that different, maybe.
It's very thin, I think.
Yeah, I would say so. Especially, you hear a lot of patients who are, passing away. My, daughter's a nurse, and I work in the medical field, so I talk to a lot of nurses where, patients who are about to pass say they see somebody in the corner that they know.
Yeah.
So it is kind of weird. And I do remember one time and I don't remember one of the locations, but I think I had asked on the spirit box, do your relatives or people come to get you? And they said yes. So.
See, that's interesting to me is because my mom went through that just before she died. She kept seeing family members visiting.
My mom did too.
A priest that visited her that none of the nurses saw, but kept coming to the hospital to sit and talk to her. And they're like, there's nobody been in her room for 2 days. So I don't know what she's talking about, but there was nobody that went in there. So,
Yeah.
You just never know. I just think as closer that you get, the more you start to see, it starts to open up. Maybe others come and visit you and get you ready for when you move over. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I guess we won't know till it's her time, but guess as a theory.
Exactly. All we can do is record and take photographs and video and hope for the best and see what we can get.
Yeah, I also find that during times of emergencies or when you're going through a personal crisis, it kind of gets like that again. You start seeing family members and friends you haven't, you don't that have been long passed away, and you have a vivid experience of them during that time, and then again, it goes back to normal. So who knows?
Yeah, let's hope they're watching and guiding us a little bit. That's kind of a
sure.
comforting thought,
Yep.
It's a very comforting thought. So
Okay, as you have your own investigation group, correct?
yeah.
Yeah, we our group is called St. Croix Paranormal.
Okay. And how long have you been in your group itself?
Well over 10 years now. Boy,
Oh,
I feel
okay.
really old, but yeah, we've been doing it for quite a long time now.
Yeah, that's about the length of time I've been at it too myself. We're in a group here in San Francisco that's kind of on call. We used to have a pretty steady investigation group for about 2006 until about 2012. And now we're kind of on call. We've all done it, but we have our group that, hey, someone wants someone to investigate, we'll pull the team together, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's interesting being in a paranormal group. I have friends who have been in groups that have broken up, bitterly broken up, infighting. There's always kinds of interesting things that go on in groups, and I tend to like to be the lone wolf. I will tag along with other groups, but I don't really like to join new groups now because it's just they spend more time on politics and I'm the leader, well I'm this and I'm head of this, and it's like, guys, why don't you just investigate? More
Yeah.
people do that.
Yeah, we're kind of in a similar situation, but and more for us because we've had so many lifestyle changes. Alex just recently had it. Well, he didn't recently. Now his little boy's like a year now.
Mhm.
But so he's had that. We have two that have immune problems. So now with the virus, we're definitely not getting together.
Yeah.
And then we have another one who just graduated to be a mortician. So she moved down to southern Minnesota and is working down there. So we're pretty much not going to travel as much as we did. We're going to focus more on the Boyd House.
Mhm.
When we're allowed to get together as a group. Or feel safe to, I should say, we'll do that. But in the meantime, me and my husband go down there quite a bit and get some work done and watch what other teams investigate. And it's
So
just a lot of fun.
do you actually live in the house, or did you just have it and fix it up and lease it out for the groups?
We just have it to fix it up and lease it out for the group. So
Okay.
yeah, we don't live there at all.
I
So
was going to ask how that would work.
Do you think you may intend to live there full time one of these days?
Oh no, not at all.
No? Okay. Why?
No, I don't know. I love the house. I love the charm of the house. I love the woodwork, the chandeliers. I love everything about it. But I don't want to live in a haunted location. So.
Have you ever actually
I do.
Have you ever actually stay overnight because you worked on the house though?
Oh yeah, I stay overnight all the time. I sleep there. It doesn't bother me. But like if I had to live there day in and day out, I don't know. Plus, I don't know. I kind of like my modern houses. So because
Yeah.
my house is more newer, so I kind of
Yeah.
like that. So I like to visit there, but I don't want to live there.
Now when you lease out do you have to go through do you have the insurance thing? Do they have to sign an insurance waiver as well as the investigation waiver?
Yeah, we just have one waiver that kind of covers everything. That pretty much, it's dangerous. You could get here. You can't sue us, and pretty much, you could die. You probably won't, but you could. So
Does
you
it
just
pay?
have to
Does it
sign
pay
that
for
kind of
itself?
thing.
Do you get a lot of investigations out of it though?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think right now every Saturday in August is booked, so you can't get in on that day.
Oh wow.
Weekdays are starting to fill up. Yeah, we've been open about a year now, and it was pretty slow going. I think of course with the virus, everything kind of slowed down as people,
Yeah.
everybody we had scheduled for April rescheduled.
Yep.
For later down into the fall. So, it's staying busy enough. I was hoping to do all these paranormal conferences that have been slowly every month that goes by, they all cancel, which is a good thing. So that would have got the word out a little bit more too. So I think next year will be a better year. I think 2020 is just terrible for everyone.
Yeah, it's a
So-
dumpster fire for sure.
Yes.
Have you done it? Have you done events there? Like I know in our group we tend to do events like every 3-4 years. We'll do a 1 or 2 night investigation where it's in a hotel where all the guests stay. We have like a dinner, a breakfast. We have paranormal lectures, that kind of thing. Have you ever done that kind of thing at the house?
We will in the future. We did have something set with Psychic Chris Moon in April, but then of course the virus happened, so we had to cancel that.
Yep.
Like I said, we just got up and running.
Oh,
I think it was like June of last year. So it was trying to get things out and get people with familiar. I was really surprised the winter. I thought nobody's going to come in the winter. I mean, it is. You guys are in California, so you don't know these blizzards, snow, 25 below zero actual temperatures. People were actually coming to the house. I'm like, oh my gosh, we just had 5 feet of snow and it's 50 below, but people are there.
Yeah, we had when we go to Virginia City in Nevada a lot during the winter, it's freezing cold too, snow and so, but not very often. You're right. It's like it's even in the summer it's sweltering hot. Like I'm going in next month to Bobby Mackey's Music World, Waverly, and then Brushy Prison in Tennessee.
Okay, there you go. There's some good places,
and it's going to be hot.
Yes, you know what? I've been in Kentucky about that time of year, and it's miserable.
Yeah, I was there a few years ago when we did one of the prisons there. I'm trying to remember if it was the Shawshank prison or the other one. I think it was that one.
Jill, I have a question for you about the EVP since you started this. When you first bought the house and you started recording EVPs, and then you find that you've been renting the house to other groups of people, have you found that the EVPs have evolved where the spirits who live there or stay there have been talking about what's going on and how things have changed?
I wouldn't say what they're talking about, how things have changed. The one thing I do know, a lot of the EVPs people get are very similar. Like they're the same voices.
I was going to ask that if it was same voices.
The same voices, but different comments about what they're feeling and thinking.
Right, whether it's a yes or a no or get out or whatever it may have been. A lot of the voices are the same. We always have one that's like always a real quiet whisper. There's always the man. There's always a woman. We hear children too. So, and as we gather them, I'm like, that sounds exactly as the same as the one I got. Even it's different saying, it's just the same voice that you hear. And they did the EVP that another group had captured, probably maybe like my third or fourth group that had come in, and they had been, this for the spirits, this was all new for them. They never really had anybody like, hey, talk to me, touch this, and all this stuff. This is all weird. So I would always kind of prep them, while we were getting the house ready and just kind of talk about, hey, this is what we're going to do. People really love it when you do this and that. And just kind of went on about that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, like I said, the third or fourth group that came in. And as they were setting up, they got an EVP of one of the spirits. It was the ladies that said, where is Jill? So this was probably like, they were like, wait a minute. So people are here, but Jill's not here. Where's Jill?
Yeah.
So it's like
they're starting to catch on. Like, wait a minute. This is a different group. What?
Nice to know you were missed.
Yeah, I know. I felt really bad because I hadn't been down there for like a month and a half, and I'm like, oh, they miss me.
Or maybe they feel you keep things under control, and they feel better when you're there. That's actually kind of a compliment.
It could be. I do tell them that if people are getting out of line to just go ahead and freak them out or something. I tell them that all the time.
Or as soon as they leave, you do your own EVP session. Like, okay, what did they do?
Yep, exactly. I do ask them questions about other groups because I'll be like, hey, did you like my friend Joe? He said that you touched his REM pod. That's cool. What do you think about that? So I try to see if they react, and I'll ask, like, who's your favorite person that's been here? And stuff. So
I gotta say though, having the fact that you don't live there and you just lease it out for the groups is probably a smart thing, because if you're bringing a lot of different people and different groups and different energies in, who knows what comes in with them? Who knows what leaves?
Oh yeah.
And that way it's at that house and maybe doesn't go home with you.
Exactly. Yeah. You never know. I mean, you can post the rules, but do people
Yeah.
follow rules? Not always.
Well, let's put it
So,
this way: you have your own group watching out for you.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. It's better that they know who you are and they actually
Mhm.
can tell when you're not there. So they at least can acknowledge that you're supposed to be there.
Can you
Well,
imagine if they gave you
exactly.
a surprise EVP saying, "Well, what about the man from last Wednesday?" And you say, "What man from last Wednesday?" I don't know.
I know. I
As
know
an
my husband
example.
always. Yeah, he said that actually the other day. He's like, wouldn't it freak you out if some group said that the caretaker was here talking to them? And I'm like, yeah, that's not even funny. So it's like,
Yeah.
because we don't have one. So,
Yeah, that would be even more freaky.
So, Jill, when you were younger, before you got into your own group, did you have any experiences like this?
Yeah, what
That
led you to this world, I guess, is probably a good question.
yeah.
well, I was just always fascinated as a little kid. I mean, my cousins and I would sit around in the dark and tell the ghost stories, and we even had a record that would tell ghost stories. You know, I had all the different ones, the telltale hearts and all that
Yeah.
with all the little sound effects, so it'd be all creepy in the dark. So we would just kind of I just kind of was always fascinated. But my grandmother's house, there was one room that none of us kids ever liked. We hated that room. It was always cold. You always felt like somebody was staring at you. You know, you didn't feel welcome in that room at all. So nobody ever was in there. And there was one night I was actually sleeping at my grandma's house, and it was just me and my parents were in the next room. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I heard footsteps coming out of, we called it the north room. So it was coming out of that room, and it stopped right in front of my door, and my back was to the door. So I was probably like 7 or 8. So there was no way I was going to turn around because that's like way too scary. And but you felt like somebody was like burning a hole through you, honestly, like
Yeah.
really staring through you. And then of course, my heart's racing. I'm scared. I get under the covers, and I'm like, oh man, And then I turned around. You heard a sigh, and I walked back in the other room. You heard the footsteps. That was it. I waited a few minutes. My parents were snoring, so they were sleeping. It wasn't them. So
Yeah.
then I got up and turned on the light, turned on the little music box, and tried to go back to sleep. And I happened to ask my grandma about it the next day because her bedroom's downstairs, so that was never her up there. And she just said, "Oh, honey, that's a ghost, and he's not going to hurt you." And I thought, wow, grandma ain't freaked out. Then this has got to be something pretty cool. So then I just started just learning and reading and just, yeah. And it just kind of escalated. And then in 2010, I just met the great group of people with the passion for the paranormal. And we formed our group and traveled all over to the well-known haunted locations.
So you guys did, was it My Ghost Story you guys were on?
Yeah, that was our first year. There was a bar in Stillwater, a local bar, that had a lot of claims of the dartboards turning on and things getting thrown and footsteps and women screaming.
Wow.
There was actually a lady who was a prostitute back in the day. Well, she was killed because they threw her over the balcony one day of that building. So they
Oh, wow.
figured she still haunts that. So they let us come in and investigate. And we were upstairs. Me and Krista were upstairs, and mind you, it was probably about 95 degrees and super humid that day.
Mhm.
So even though it was air conditioned, it was still really warm in the room. And it was just me and her, and we were like, "Hey, let's run a spirit box." And the whole time we're like, "Gosh, it's getting really like ice cold," and we're getting the goosebumps, like insane goosebumps.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not coordinating at the time. I'm like, "Okay, well, let's go get the spirit box." Well, we just happened to look over, and it's up. It's a second floor, so it's not a shadow from anybody walking down below. We just saw this black, almost like hooded type figure walk very quickly in front of the windows and disappear. And then that temperature went back to normal. And we
Oh,
both
wow.
just looked at each other, and I'm like, "Did you just see that?" And she's like, "Yeah, I did." And we didn't know, but we caught it on camera, so that was super cool. So we submitted
Yeah.
that, got on my ghost story. So,
Yeah, that's almost even better than experiencing because you actually captured it, which is almost impossible.
oh yeah, I think there's only 2 times that one, and then we were at the Randolph Infirmary in Indiana where we actually caught a shadow. We had seen it. Well, I hadn't seen it, but Teresa had seen it while she was setting the camera up in the basement. She saw the shadow run across in the basement, and then probably
Yeah.
like a midnight or so, we were up on the very top floor. And I didn't see it at the time either. It was when we were back reviewing footage, but we were kind of like at a corner, so you could see all three hallways, and I was kind of panning back and forth, like which way do we want to go?
Yeah.
And as we did the panning, and it zoomed way down to the end of the hall, there was a doorway there with a light on, because that's where the bathroom was, and there was actually a black mass. You could see it peek its head out and then run across the doorway really fast. And I was, we didn't see that at the time, but when we got home, I'm like, oh my god, did you see that? So,
you remind me of when I went to Penhurst Asylum about 3-4 years ago now. In the basement, we were looking around in the basement, and I don't know if you've ever been to Penhurst in Pennsylvania.
No, I haven't been to that one.
Pretty wild. We're in the pitch black dark. My flashlight doesn't work, but my group, two people, the three of us had the place for the night. So the two people behind me were behind me a ways, like 6 feet, so I could sort of see with their flashlights on the ground. And I look ahead of me, and all I see is two glowing eyes and growling, and it comes straight at me in the dark. And of course, a giant raccoon that scampers past me and goes right up the wall towards the window. I don't know. The paranormal scares me, but damn, there's something in the dark that isn't coming at you, growling and glowing eyes.
Yeah.
That was pretty wild. But that one was wild. And then I played like Amazing Grace with the harmonica in the basement. And as soon as I done, you hear a whisper of "Gone to Heaven." It's pretty wild, but you'll capture, I always take the harmonica when I go to prisons.
I think we did the harmonica too. We've actually, because we did a couple prisons, and we got one of those prisoner out Halloween costumes, with the stripes and the old number.
Yeah.
And we would shove Alex in a jail cell with the EVPs and everything, and just leave him. So
you're a bait. Our ghost.
Yes,
bait.
we did. Yeah, we've done that. Sometimes we've liked to play the part. We've dressed up as nuns when we've done churches. We've doctors, cool. Nurses outfit. I don't know if it really makes a difference, but
Why did you dress up as a nun when you've gone to a church? What was the purpose of that?
Nuns, churches, get it?
No, I do get that, but what difference do you think that would have made?
Well,
I don't know. I kind of felt like if there was a priest or something there, they might be like, "Oh, hey, there's a sister," and be more willing to talk to me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that was because we did that at the Saddamsville Rectory. So we dressed as nuns there, and then there was a local church here that somebody owned and turned into a home that was haunted. So they allowed us to come in and do that one, and I got a really cool spirit box. It was we were at the altar, and I had the outfit on, and I just over the spirit box, you hear a guy go, "Are you Catholic?" So that was cool.
Oh, okay.
You remind me of when I was volunteering at Alcatraz for about 6 years in the last.
Oh, how cool is that?
I would always do EVP sessions like in the dungeon. I would do them by myself, in different parts of the prison, solitary. But when I'm doing EVP, sometimes I have my keys on my belt, because you have the same keys that they unlock the cells with, and you're walking around, the keys rattle, and I have EVPs of "the guard's coming," stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
And we did like an overnight test where we left a recorder. This was an overnight. We had like several volunteer overnights where it's like 20 of us. You can run around the whole prison for the whole night if you wanted. But we would do I would leave an EVP recorder in different places, the dungeon, the library. And I was the last one, left the recorder, first one to pick it up at 4 or 5 in the morning. And I got one where you hear whistling down the cell house. But it's very quiet. It's like an EVP whisper. You can tell the difference of the frequency. And then when we went back and did like a cell house whistling test. Put the recorder back in the same spot in the library, and did the whistling from different points in the prison cell house to see if we could replicate that same exact sound in the same exact way, and we never could. So you never know.
Yeah, that's true. But Alcatraz, that's super cool. There's somewhere I always wanted to just go there. Not even for the investigating, just to check it out. I'm an old soul. That's what I like about the paranormal too, is all the cool, rich history of the old buildings and things you get to see, you know?
Yep, exactly.
To me, that's the best part. That's the
I
best
just
part.
love
And
it.
then you might hear inside information that's not in the history books that you might have discovered about a place.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, we've been they had the Fergus Falls Asylum. They've let very few paranormal groups in there, and just it used to be like an old tuberculosis hospital, kind of like a Waverly. It was kind of like Waverly. And
Yeah.
it turned into a mental thing, and just the towers and the massive pillars they have in there, and you just go in there and you're like, man, I can just imagine how this place was back in the day.
You know, when you talk about a house being an old tuberculosis house, do you ever find that you have to be cautious for your safety? Because sometimes germs, bacteria, things like that can linger in old places long after the place has been emptied. Do you ever find that? Do you ever think about that?
I have thought about it. Now, have I taken precautions about it? No, but yeah, even when we went to Waverly, like, well, gee, I hope we don't get TB, haha. You know, so you do think about it. So
Yeah, I'm going there. I'm going there in 2 weeks. I pray to God during the pandemic I don't get TV.
Well, I mean, it's a question that doesn't come up that often. But then again, when people are digging old graves or people who died of obsolete diseases, they have to wear protective clothing, protective gloves, because they have been told that some of these bacteria from these diseases linger still. So I'm not surprised if it lingers in the old buildings too.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I just wonder if you have to do more like break a wall down or something. I think if you just touch a doorknob or something, you're not going to get that. But I think if you're
I don't
probably
know.
in there, I don't know. Who knows? We don't know.
I'd be more afraid of asbestos and black mold and rotting floors.
That's another thought too. Yeah, about the way they're built, about the materials in the walls and in the place. Yeah.
I know Penhurst had like 28 buildings. We could only investigate 3 because the rest were full of asbestos and hadn't been gutted yet. So it's like $1 million to tear one down. It's like $2 million to upgrade one. It's like, well, the guy's like, if I tear them down, it still costs me money. So if I upgrade, at least I can use the buildings. So interesting.
Right.
Interesting what they charge to tear a building down nowadays. Quite a bit.
Yeah. So what are some places that your group would like to investigate or have an interest in that you think would be something to talk about in the future?
Boy, I had this huge list of places to go. Now I can't think of one that you asked me that. I always toy with going to the Sally house just because there's a lot of evil stuff with that, so we're kind of a little not sure about that house. So I drove by it, took a picture of it once.
Yeah, if you guys ever come out west, we'd meet you guys, even at like in Nevada, Virginia City, to go to like the Washoe Club and all the stuff. That whole town is just haunted.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Now, for the sake of our listeners who aren't familiar with the Sally House, explain a little bit about it.
Well, I don't know a ton other than I know that it supposedly has a lot of evil entities. I've talked to a couple different paranormal groups that have been there that says it is insane, it's crazy, and it will haunt you even after. It just messes with your psyche.
Yeah.
They got it like an EVP of something about like, I'm coming for you and it's not Jesus. It was something real evil. They heard like heavy pounding on the footsteps. One of the girls, she said she had nightmares about demons and things for months and months afterwards.
Wow.
And she just I don't know. There's just so many negative stuff that I hear comes from there. It intrigues me, but yet it scares me. So I really toy with even going there.
How far?
Understandable.
How far are you guys from the Velasca murder house?
About 6 hours. I've been there twice. I love that place.
Yeah, this is me thinking ahead, like next year for me and my friend Jackie, if we scope out a trip to like Velasca and then do your the Boyd house.
There you go. Yeah, the Velasca house, I was actually our first place we ever investigated as a group
Nice.
in like a real well-known haunted location.
Yeah.
And we got like a ton of REM pod interaction, and the EVPs we got out of there. If you guys go to our on YouTube under St. Croix Paranormal and look up that video for Villisca, the first one, so it'd be the 2010 version. The EVPs were like the kids talking to each other. We got like, do you want to play? No way. We had the little boy, I want to touch your things. The other little boy says, no, Lena, no, like she was going to do something and don't do that.
Hey, let's actually play some of those right now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, those are really cool.
Yeah, they were pretty awesome to get that. And then what I like, the one thing that I thought was really, really cool is I had asked on the spirit box if there's something I could bring you next time I come, what would it be? And they said bacon. Which who doesn't
bacon?
Like bacon? I love bacon.
Bacon.
So then when we came back, like I think it was 4 years later, I did bring like that beef jerky bacon that they have now, and I put it in a pan and attached it this REM motion thing. So if it gets touched, it alarm. It's like a REM pod. And I put the bacon in there, and I kid you not, I put it in there and said, "Hey, I don't know if you remember, but you told me, so here's your bacon. Have at it." And not more than 5 minutes later, that thing was ringing like crazy right in front of us. I was like, sweet, they came for the bacon.
There's my offering of bacon, guys. Maybe you need a piece right now, but it's really good. Get some bacon. Hey, where's your bacon? Probably bring it. Oh, you liking the bacon? And good bacon? I told you I'd bring you some bacon. Thank you.
So,
even in the afterlife, your love for bacon never ends.
That's right. Yes. So yeah, that's an awesome place. You'll love it. They threw rocks at us. I don't know why I thought they liked us, but whatever.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely on my list. But it was one of those locations where you look and you're like, wow, there's not a whole lot of other locations, paranormal wise, that you could line up to go with that. Do you know what I mean? That are anywhere near it. So we're like, oh, it's like by itself, and it's kind of like the Lizzie Borden house. It's like, well, it's there, but everything else is really good distance away, and
right.
We like to line up 2 or 3 places to hit in like 2-3 days to make a good road trip out of it. But
yeah,
dang.
Well, we might be a little. The Boyd house might be closer to Villisca. I'm 6 hours from Villisca from my house, and I'm more southwest Minnesota. Okay. We're actually 1 hour from Brookings, South Dakota.
That's
where the Boyd house is, yeah. So we're more out that way.
So you might hear from us next year.
Yes, that would be awesome. We'd love to have you.
Jackie would love it too, I'm sure. We've been talking about the Villisca Murder House going, damn, we want to do it, but there's just nothing else around. So this gives us an excuse now.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. So any aspirations to write a book? Because you after like
any future plans? Yeah.
I did have an idea of writing some of the things I've learned paranormal wise, and maybe now I can incorporate what happens when you buy a real haunted location.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been on my mind. I'm currently going to be working on putting like a video documentary of the house with like histories, photos, evidence that other people have gotten, and then they said they would do some little interviews with me about their experiences at the house. So I'm going to work on that, and then if this virus thing ever lifts up next year, I got this really great idea for a horror film that I'm going to film at the house. So I'm gonna dabble in that a little bit. So those are kind of where I'm headed.
That'd be awesome. Then you can pitch it to Amazon or Netflix.
Exactly. Well, I'm not trying to make it. I do this. I really do it because it's just fun.
Yeah.
and I like to show it to other people. Now, hey, if somebody wants to pay me $1 million, I'm not going to be like, hey, no. But
yeah, exactly. I noticed that's like a trend on mainly Amazon Prime more than anything else. A lot of paranormal groups around the country are. I don't know how they're doing it. There must be a way to do it where they're managing to create investigation videos. They're about an hour and a half, 2 hours each, but they're obviously selling them to Amazon Prime to actually show on Amazon Prime Video. So there is a market out there for investigation and paranormal group videos beyond Ghost Adventures, which isn't exactly a real investigation, but that's besides the point.
I think that's the reason why people are doing their own videos and posting them on there, because they really want to show people the difference between what people see on a TV show and what a real investigation is like. Not that these aren't real investigations, but they have to edit, they have to show the dramatic parts, and it makes it look like it's the whole show, and it's really not the whole thing. So they want people to see the real deal.
I agree too, that they want to see the real thing, and just not the whole cuts with the Hollywood, like you say, because I think it's more. You get more evidence, you get more. I have so many people, because they watch the normal mainstream shows. When you tell them you're an investigator, like, oh my God, that must be terrifying, that must be scary, and you're like, no, you really spend you spend like 12 hours walking around the dark going, hello. So, I mean, it's not really like that. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of carrying equipment. It's dirty. It's dusty. You get hungry. It's cold.
I tell people, be prepared to be very bored.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, but you will be. For a while, you will be.
Yeah, we've had people want to join the team, and they think it's all going to be like TV, and then when they're like, oh, I got to do that. I got to put that. I got to haul this. What? Nope. And then we never hear from them again. So
yeah, you're like, that's what you're going to find isn't going to be wrapped up in 40 minutes. Just saying.
Exactly.
Because you could go back to a location, 4 or 5 times and maybe get stuff once. I mean, we like in Virginia City, that happens a lot. We'll go back to the Washoe Club, and there'll be some nights where it's just chairs being thrown and voices and footsteps and all kinds of stuff. And then the next time we go, there isn't a single sound. So you just never know. Like I said, if they move around, they may not always be there all the time when you're there. So just depends.
Yeah, I've found that too. There's places where like, oh my God, that was so super happening. We need to totally go back. And then you go back and it's like, nothing.
Yeah.
So I think, so I kind of think it depends on, we can't, some people need to understand too that we can't, we don't own these spirits, and we can't force them to do anything. We can't make them do anything. Yeah. So if they don't want to interact, they're not going to. And they're just like me and you. If they don't even like your personality, they're not going to talk to you. And if they like you and feel like it, and if they have enough energy, then they will. So
I think the best quote is from Poltergeist, from what's her? I forget what her name is now. The Zelda Rubinstein, where she said,
yeah.
Be careful. Close your minds. They know what scares you.
It's true.
They know
very true. And it makes me wonder, those spiritualist circles that used to perform for people, and people say nothing happened. Well, of course nothing happened. It doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
You can't make them perform for you, but they thought they could.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Big lesson to learn.
Well, it's funny when you get people they're real novice, they're real excited to go on a ghost hunt. They go on the ghost hunt with you, and for the first hour, they're like, "Oh, this is so exciting! I've always wanted to do this." Hour 2, it's like they're looking at their watch, they're like chatting in the chair, like, "Oh, how much longer are we have in here?" Okay, then you know that they're out. They're not going to be an investigator.
Or they start saying really stupid things. stupid things, and then they spoil the whole thing. And whatever spirits are around, they get turned off, and they just don't bother with you. I've seen that happen
Right.
too.
Yep.
Yep, exactly.
So
Okay. Well,
yeah,
thanks for being on. Thanks for sharing. I always wanted
Thanks
to know
for-
what it's like to buy a haunted house. So
It's, you know what, it's a lot more work than I thought, because we thought, oh yeah, I can go investigate anytime I want, this will be super fun, but I didn't take into account that I have to clean the place, I'd have to do the lawn, I have to take out the trash, I have to do laundry. There's a lot of stuff to be done, and then I throw in all my remodeling projects on top of that. So
put all those
I haven't
spirits to
got
work.
I know. I try to tell them, you could just make this go a little bit faster for me. But yeah, I mean, we've really enjoyed having it, and we're getting to the part where we're almost done with projects, so we can take a little break and have some fun ourselves. So
That's cool. We actually had. Do you remember Butch Patrick from the Munsters?
yes,
He was actually one of our guests about a year ago, and he came on telling about a house he bought that was haunted. And he bought it because he found out his great-great-grandfather had owned it. He had no idea when he bought it that he had owned it.
isn't
And
that cool?
then he
Yeah.
bought it, and he was going to shoot a TV show that never happened, or kind of a reality paranormal show. It didn't happen. But he was telling us about his experiences, and he didn't really believe in it, but his wife did. And then after a while, they both started having enough experiences where he said, yeah, I have to kind of change my views now. But it kind of reminds me of the same thing where he bought it. I don't think he thought, I will ever live here. I'm just going to do the TV show here. And then he found out his great-great-grandfather owned it. So it was kind of a weird little symmetry thing.
yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, we were in the same town that he lived in, and we were at a bar or something, and we told people who we were, and they're like, "Oh my God, you got to meet Butch, but he's out of town right now." I'm like,
Of course he's out of town. He's always out of town.
I know.
Yeah,
So I was kind of bummed about that, but yeah,
He was cool.
Yeah, he was fun to talk to. He really was.
yeah, I can imagine. That'd be awesome.
Well, you never know. You might even have him visit your house you bought.
Yes, there you go. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, don't be surprised if me and Jackie don't look you up to schedule sometime next year when the COVID's over.
Oh yeah, awesome. Let's hope it is. We got to get that vaccine going.
I know, exactly. All right. Well, thanks for being on. And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If someone wants to come and stay at the Boyd House overnight, a paranormal group, where do they go to contact you?
A couple places. You can find us on Facebook under Boyd House. Our website is with our paranormal group, so that's St. Croix Paranormal. So that's STCROIX paranormal.com. Or you can just shoot us an email at boydhouse217@yahoo.
Excellent.
Perfect.
There you go, folks. If you want to, paranormal groups always love to lease new haunted locations. Here you go. And if you have a small group, you're in, social distancing, small groups, right? Wear your mask. You'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go. I don't think anybody's been wearing their mask coming in lately, but we disinfect in between, so we're all good.
There you go. All right. Excellent. Well, thanks for being on,
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
sharing your stories and your experiences. It's always nice to hear from fellow investigators doing the same thing for the same reasons.
Yeah, it was good, and glad we got this podcast thing figured out here.
Yeah, not too painful. Excellent. Well, thanks a lot for being on, Jill.
Yeah, thank you,
thanks
Jill.
for having me. We'll talk to you
And
later.
we will- All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Wow, that was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would be brave enough to actually live in the house. But it doesn't sound like the house is haunted in a malicious or evil way. So I would be tempted to want to live there, but I wouldn't want to live there and have paranormal groups come over overnight and walk around and look at your stuff all night. So
No, I wouldn't want it that way. But I live in a haunted apartment, so me living in a house like that, it wouldn't bother me really, because I deal with all kinds of stuff here all the time in this apartment. So, but maybe if I lived in a house like that, I would rent it out for the summer and have another place to go to, and then live there part of the time.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. I mean, you could do that, but I wouldn't want to have to keep moving all my high ticket items out every summer. I think
I know.
what she ended up doing is probably the only way. You either do it or you don't. You either lease it out to paranormal groups to investigate, or you don't, because you don't want to keep
Right.
going back and forth.
Right, exactly.
And you could always stay in it if you chose to not do groups for a while and you wanted to go spend some time for the summer in a different house. You could go stay in the house for the summer, whatever.
Well, it sounds like she has it. She has the process evolving, and she really has a good schedule and how she's working on that.
Yeah, I can imagine the work involved in upkeep of the house and just keeping track of the people that book, and it is a lot of work. People don't realize, oh yeah, they're just coming into your house. What's the big deal? Well, no, there is, because you have to schedule it. If a group cancels, do you have a deposit? All these kind of things that and you have to maintain the place. Like she said, she had to take out the garbage, do
It takes
the
upkeep.
landscaping. Yeah, exactly. You have to clean the floors, keep the place clean for people to come through, and pray they don't burn your house down when they investigate.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. She needs a lot of rules and regulations if she's going to have people come in there on a public basis. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's a handle, but it sounds like she's got it up and running, and then of course the COVID kicked in. But hopefully, when this passes, it'll kick back up for her, because people are always looking for new places to investigate. So I'm sure that will help kick it back up again.
Yeah, and I think it's very cool that she owns it, because she's had a lot of experience in this type of in this field, and I think if anybody should own a place like that, who would really know how to handle it and take good care of it, it would be somebody like her.
Yeah, someone who's been explored, understands what people are coming in there for, why they want to come in. It's funny when you investigate a place when the person that owns it or whatever or leasing, or if it's a museum or something, they're sort of apprehensive. They let a group in and they're not really sure why you even want to come do this. And then they're kind of skeptical, and they're kind of like watching you to make sure you don't steal something or look at something. I've had that experience at Sam's Castle about 5 years ago over in the East Bay, where they did that, where it was a TV show. What is it? On the Bay? Did an episode, a segment with our group, me, Tommy, and I think Shauna went. And we did our segment on the air, and then the woman who was the curator of the place was so afraid that we'd touch or break something. She didn't want us out of her sight. So when we wandered back into one of the back rooms, I did a little EVP work. She'd come running back there. Is there something you need? I'm like, no, I'm just looking. Oh, okay. Well, we're all up here. It's like, okay, lady, I'm not going to steal something. I'm just looking around.
See, if you're gonna get that paranoid about people being there, that's not a good sign. So,
yeah. And why would you do a ghost hunting segment from a morning show in Sam's Castle if you're not open to that stuff in the first place? I mean,
exactly.
Desperate to get someone to come in and look at your place, and it was an interesting place. I mean, it's an old castle that had been, I think it was not built there, it was moved there. And it was like a illegal abortion clinic for a while in the 1920s, and it's a really cool place. Sam's Castle. It also has a different name than that. I don't remember what it was though, but I'm sure they don't let investigation groups in there, because they weren't when we went there. We were just happening because the morning show was there. So
yeah,
but it was fun. But that's what I mean. When you get stuff like that where people are like apprehensive but they let you in, it's like, why did you do this in the first place?
Why did you? Why did you bother? Yeah,
it just seems so anti-productive for me and them. So I don't know.
Especially if they have cameras in the place to begin with, the cameras are going to catch whatever if somebody does something off guard. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was fun, but yeah, I would love to own my own haunted house, but I would love to do what she's doing, because I think that would be, exactly what the groups are looking for. You might even have equipment they could rent.
You're in control of everything, and well, you never know. I mean, you never know.
But I would make one room with a little wall of maybe museum pieces, photographs of the house, of the people who owned it, hit a little history on the wall.
A little museum and gift shop. Gosh, some great ideas here. I hope it comes true for you. I really do.
Yeah, I would love that. A nice.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
But that was that. That was a cool episode.
Yeah, it was great.
Very good conversation.
Yeah, and she was great to interview. I really enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Until next week, that's another episode of Ecto Portal. We now return you to your normal lives.
See you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Royalty-free, copyright-free music by Ross Bugden.